Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here. Today I'm talking to you about Island. So Island is written by In-Wan Yoon and drawn by Kyungil Yang. Now this is the team that did Blade of the Phantom Master as well as Burning Hell, and this series actually was the first one before Blade of the Phantom Master, ran in 97, ended in 2001. This was a monthly series with a whopping total of 46 chapters, and this was published in Comic Beam. And the only series I recognized from there was Desert Punk. A lot of seinen content in this magazine, which fits what we got going on here. Of course, this is part of the Super String universe, and interestingly enough, if you go to the official YLab website, where it has all the details for the series that are connected to each other for this eventual crossover thing that they want to do, for the original run, it also says 2016 currently ongoing. Based on the preview images, it looks like just like Blade of the Phantom Master, they are adapting this to webtoon content. So it's being redrawn and colorized and fit in the web strip form versus the manga format. And I mentioned in Blade of the Phantom Master how I think the manga version would probably fit better just the way everything was played out. And mainly because I think that was just being colored. It wasn't being redrawn. But after reading Island, I would say it definitely can be in the webtoon format. There was nothing that stood out in the manga version that screamed it had to be in manga format, just like in Blade of the Phantom Master. So definitely could work. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I do like the rough art style of the late 90s that this series was going for. But with looking at the new art on the previews, it's definitely more webtoon focused, if that makes sense. Just the way the faces are drawn and the one action panel that we have here, it really complements with the colors. You know, that's one thing mangakas don't really focus on, is how would this panel look in color. I mentioned it before for Blade of the Phantom Master and, you know, with One Piece and how like there's strong scenes, but in color it still looks like a strong scene. But it's not always the case with that. And I think it's because you have to work with grayscale. But anyways, man, let's go ahead and get into this. There's some interesting stuff to talk about here. So this starts off with our main character, Miho. She is the daughter of a billionaire. And while she arrives on Jeju Island, where majority of the story takes place, we are immediately encountered with her driver transforming into a demon, a burning desire demon to be specific, is ready to kill her when he is stopped by a mysterious character that comes in that just has a dagger with a Buddha figure on the handle and starts attacking. Clearly they know each other, and then the demon reveals that this person is a serial killer, and he specifically murdered 4 women recently in a pretty horrific manner, according to this demon. And of course, the way this character is, he doesn't really retaliate or say anything to defend himself. He just doesn't care. And so he's there for the carnage, kills the demon. Now all that's left is Miho, scared and frightened. He's ready to kill, but he's like, you know what? You're lucky. I'm just going to leave you for now. But be warned, these demons, now that they want your blood, they're going to be coming after you as long as you stay on this island. And Miho, being a quick-witted character, makes an agreement with him because she says, hey, look, if you're a target too, we could work something out. As she's a daughter of a billionaire, of course, she's loaded, so she offers a price for each demon he kills that targets her, or just demons in general. And thus starts this series. And the first thing, after the halfway point, I think, I started to see like, okay, this series is going by the books, where we're introduced to an interesting premise and we get some background with our characters, and then it's monster of the week for a long time. Well, in this case, monster of the month. And eventually when you get to the point of being invested into these characters and you want to find out more about their backstories, that's when the story shifts. We actually get a narrative. We get some arcs going on. However, as we were getting into that interesting plot, it kept thinking in the back of my head, why are we going through this right now? This is such a weird detour from what we were dealing with. You know, usually when you want to dive into more stories, it's to further expand what we've already established. In this case, the burning desire demons, you know, I thought we were going to get more into them and more into this mysterious character who eventually is named Pan, or Van, I guess is the official translation, but So I was thinking, okay, we're going to get more of his backstory. You know, they're going to get closer together as, you know, very classic cliche things from the late 90s, early 2000s. So I figured we're going to see some of that, but we go through this story involving a bunch of new characters that come in. And it was a little shaky at first for them to come in because I was getting confused. Eventually we get another main cast, John, who is from a Christian church, and just there's confrontation for really no reason. I think it was just there to show off some sick fights because as cool and bloody as the fights are that we see Pan fight these demons, there's really not a lot of interesting stuff happening. And so having some human characters with similar abilities clash with each other, that's always cool to see. So I think it was just that for that purpose. But eventually when we resolve that arc, you understand like, okay, I guess it made sense why they fight. The art style really complements their personalities and really shows off the emotions, mainly like the violent and angry side of these characters. It's really fitting. And like in Blade of the Phantom Master, the monster / demon designs in here are so good. They do look intimidating. They look terrifying. This is exactly what I wanted for something like this. And especially when they start getting grotesque and you start unraveling the more intricate demons that they have to fight, because the fodder look like fodder, and then when we get to actual named demons, like when, you know, there's specific name drops and we get a little backstory with them, A+ on the designs. And so we get to the interesting part of this series. It ends at 46 chapters, and it ends with the arc that I was just mentioning. And when we got to the ends, or actually when I was nearing the final chapter, I was thinking, how are we going to resolve everything right now? There's still a lot of stuff left unanswered in here that I really want to see. And yeah, we get like surface level details that get revealed. One thing I did like was the character John gets a revelation about the character Pan. Usually it's always, oh, the audience knows what the big reveal is going to be, but the characters never do. And here is the character knew the reveal, but the audience didn't. I like that. You don't really see that a whole lot, especially like in older manga like this. So that was a cool surprise to get the truth about Pan and his backstory. And, you know, it was sprinkled throughout just to keep you invested, because as we're going along, even in the Monster of the Month chapters, you're starting to break down his character and think, oh, there's more to it than just him hunting demons and him maybe a serial killer. Maybe he's not. Well, was there a purpose for him doing it? You know, that kind of stuff. So I was hoping to get more of that, but when we finished the arc, that was the end. And characters just walk off. There's really no epilogue for the series. So I found that really interesting. And where I'm reading, it's the physical volumes. And so on the back end of the last volume, at the end of the chapter, it's the actual author himself, Inwan Yoon. He goes into more detail about why they decided to end it here at 46 chapters. And the main reason was because they wanted to end at the peak of what the series was going to be. And he goes on and explains what they would have done, how much further the series would have gotten into, right? Like I would say this is probably like the first third, almost halfway of the series. And the stuff that he explains, you could definitely do some pretty good arcs, but they felt in their best interest to just end it here while it's at its peak, at the highest it could be, which I find interesting because as good as this arc was at the end, despite the rough intro with the new cast coming in and all of that stuff, when you get to the big chunks of it, it was really good storytelling as we dive into these characters and really see what makes them tick. And a lot of good moments with everybody, aside from, I guess, Pan, because he kind of just stays the same majority of the series. He just gets ticked off more once things start getting revealed about his past. And I find it interesting, they think this would be the peak of the series, and they didn't want to dive in further to get some more stuff that they showed off actually fulfilled. I don't know about how the audience reacted at the time this came out in the magazine, but for me, the final arc, I mean, yes, I said it was good, but that's not what I'm here for at the start of the arc. What I was here for, what I wanted to see was more development for Pan, more for Miho, and just unraveling this strange relationship that they've created since she first came to the island. I wanted to see a lot more of that. And there definitely could have been flashback arcs with him, once we get the reveal of what type of character he is. I guess it's the fear of your series not being as well received as it was, right? I think that's always in the back of a lot of mangakas' heads. There's plenty of great manga series that just dip at the tail end. Unfortunately, that's what they're known for majority of the time after it ended. For me, there's definitely series where I'm like, I just don't want to go back because of how it ended. Like Cage of Eden, for example. That's a great series. And then when it dipped, it went all the way down. I think it makes sense, especially with the next series immediately after this was Blade of the Phantom Master. And a lot of themes that were introduced in this final arc for Island are introduced in there. And they want to get more in depth with characters and the backstory and, all of that great stuff that makes these series great. I guess that's why he wanted to end it there on a high note and then carry that forward into his next series. Unfortunate, but I would have loved to see more. And maybe they are doing that with the webtoon version. I don't think it's out here in the West. I found an article talking about that there's going to be a live action drama that's actually going to be out this year. It goes into detail about the webtoon stuff to get a backstory, and it says it's a part 2, but looking at the screenshots that they showed off for the series, some of it looks like a part 2, some of it looks like it's them retreading the series perhaps, but just expanding it into more detail that they missed before. So there's only 8 chapters for part 2, and unfortunately I'm not seeing any translation, so I guess we're not going to be coming back to this. Since it is a K-drama, I wonder if that means they're not going to be going heavy with the monsters in there, which would be unfortunate, but we shall see. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the episode. So thanks guys for listening. Have you checked out Island? What did you think? Would love to hear your thoughts. And you could send those to unversepodcast@gmail.com. And then you can follow us anywhere on social media at unversepodcast, and we'll let you know when the next episode drops. So thanks guys, and we will catch you on the next one.
Turn the bass strong, you just hurt me. Role play the relation, we fake and I'm serving. Borderline elation, my mental is discerning. If we just created all of something else, it's more than worthy. If I found the gate to hell, still knows that heaven's concerned, and so every attempt that I make in the wake is just viewing. I find either alone or in the safety of anxiety, so I never have to question if she's hiding and what she's doing. The circle of dismissal, dependency is fickle as our empathy is simple, and complexities, the issues more traumatic in abuse, emotions rolling with excuse. Swiping, I'm a sleuth, I stole your heart, we just diffused the slower walk through the greener side. Other is a fucking lie, it's not that I don't know the sun, my eyes still bleed in summertime, and I think that I found the one. Heard that love makes you blind, I learned that loving makes you numb, push off in the concrete might, my feet ignited the ground and I learned how to run. But in place we just make the mistakes and remain numb. Better for the chase of the stakes, the top sector, the roof is a nice gesture. I finally took the trip to the floor. I found this happy in store to those who cross the line. Devil makes better jokes. Different strokes for different folks. I'm getting old, I'm getting old. It's different strokes for different folks. I'm getting old, I'm getting old. Different strokes for different folks. I'm getting old, I'm getting old. Different strokes for different folks. I'm getting old.